lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we rise strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
108-103, the Kings lose to a very bad Brooklyn Nets team. But guess what? The Kings right now look like a very bad team. They're now a game under 500, 8-9 on the year. At home, they're 4-5. And, oh, yeah, you're playing Oklahoma City tomorrow night. Chew on that for a little while. There are so many areas that I want to go to, but I'm going to start with the bench. The Kings bench has got to be the worst in the league. Their bench is terrible. It's embarrassing how bad their bench is. Their bench only had 9 points in the game tonight. Only one guy scored, and he only scored in the first half. Do you know the Kings in the second half, Ryno? In the second half, did not have 1 point from their bench.
Brutal. Not surprising, though, because of what we've seen from this bench all season, Grant, unfortunately. It's time to look at everything. It's time to take the 30,000-foot approach, because you're not improving that bench tomorrow, the next day, or the day after that without giving something up, and you got to have a trade partner. So you better look at the combinations. You better look at the sets. There's not much more you can do, Grant. You got to retool. Mike Brown's gone. Colby Jones, he's gone to everything at this point.
15 points in the fourth quarter, Ryan. The Kings had 15 points in the fourth quarter when the game was tied going into the fourth quarter. They got destroyed in the fourth quarter by a bad Brooklyn team. And I don't want to hear about injuries. The Nets had guys out of the lineup tonight, too. Yep. The Clippers had no Kawhi Leonard. They had their leading scorer not playing, in Norman Powell, and they kicked the ass of the Kings. There's some real issues going on right now with this team.
The bottom line is they got out-hustled for the majority of the game. The Kings turned it up in the third quarter. The fourth quarter, it was there to a degree. But, you know, you've got these parts floating all around, Grant. They just can't put it together for 48 minutes. They just can't right now.
And I got to tell you, we talked about this at halftime. Jordy Fernandez, his game plan was really solid tonight.
Excellent job by Jordy. Excellent job.
He's a hell of a coach, isn't he?
He's a great coach. He was the defensive guy here in Sacramento. You can laugh if you want, because the defense wasn't always the best. But if anybody knows this team, he does. And, you know, Grant, I think the lesson we've learned from tonight, this team can't double people anymore. Whatever that trap is within their regular defensive set, you can't leave a guy open, because they're just going to kill you. They kill you every time here in the Golden One Center.
You know what I see as a glaring issue with the Kings? And we talked about this last year when they played New Orleans. I think you made the comment one night, and you said, you know, the one thing that's so apparent to me is how much more athletic the Pelicans are than the Kings. The Kings' athleticism compared to a lot of other teams in the league is subpar, in my opinion. It just is.
Yeah, it's not super flexible. You know, you don't have the players around the rim. Now, you can get to the rim, but you'll see a spectacular finish here or there. But where that hurts you the most is on the perimeter, closing out. That's why when the Kings are defending the three so many times, they are too poor at it, Grant, at the bottom of the league.
And the Kings had a rare night of bad free throws. And I said that because they've been shooting it well for all year from the line. But tonight they missed 11. They were 20 of 31.
It's a tough thing, Grant. And like you said, the way you started it off, first night of a back-to-back. Big minutes tonight for your guys. You got SGA, who averages 26.7 versus the Kings in his career, rolling into town.
37 minutes for Fox, 36 for DeRozan, 35 for Sabonis, 35 for Murray, and you're taking on a team that's a lot better than you, and good luck. That's all I can say. It doesn't mean you can't win the game, but the team that I've watched the last couple games is not beating the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow.
No, this team that I'm watching right now, or at least we've watched for the last 5 or 6 games, and let's take Fox out of this equation, everybody else around Fox, Grant, it looks like there's too much thinking and not enough playing. This team is not just reacting, playing. It's getting to spots. Where's the cohesion? We see it in spurts, but we don't see it across the board. It's hard.
Well, I like to go in 5-game increments. This 5-game increment, which started in LA, the letter grade would be an F.
Correct.
So it is absolutely brutal. A game under 500, the Sacramento Kings. We appreciate all the messages. You got the link to call the show. We would love to hear from you
Yeah.
because I'm not really sure how long we're going to be able to talk about all the problems that are facing the Kings. The first problem I'm going to point to is the start. They got off to a horrible start in LA. They got off to a horrible start tonight. So they're down like double digits before you even like the alarm is finished going off, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, and then like you said, they finished that way, only 15 points. Predictable. I guess so often out of the gate, Grant, we know what's coming as fans. We can call it. We know the plays they're going to run. And if you're an NBA defense with scouts and people that are paid to come up with counters, it's not too hard to figure out what this team's going to do. So how do you change things up? It's a DHO right out the gate. 2 down screens.
Can you imagine if this team, for the second year in a row, does not make the playoffs? Oh my goodness. Wow. And there's a long way to go. We're not to Thanksgiving yet, but this is not a playoff team that I'm watching right now. It's just not.
No. Could they be? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
But
for sure.
you got to start, and you've been saying it. Jerry has said it. I have said it as well. It is time to look at the starting lineup. You
Got to
got to
change.
put Keon Ellis in there, Grant.
Have to. I don't know what the hell Mike Brown's looking at. I mean, if you think that Malik Monk's going to come back and save the team, he'll help. But the starting unit is not getting it done right now. Plain and simple, it's not getting it done.
Yep, absolutely. We want to hear from you as well, like Grant said. So get in here on the call line. We'll get to as many chats as we can. Super chats definitely get the priority. Let's kick it off with J Cal. Welcome in tonight.
Hey, what's up, guys? Another rough game. Same thing. Every single loss. The bench. I don't know what to say. Every day, every game, every loss is always the same thing, you know? And I don't know. Today was a rough day. Niners suck. The Kings suck. The schedule doesn't get any easier.
Second hardest coming home. Second hardest in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't get easier. We have they have the Thunder next and the Timberwolves on Wednesday. So
Yeah, Minnesota's
see.
really struggling, but I mean, it won't matter if the Kings play like this. They're not going to beat anybody.
yeah, no, I totally agree. All right, guys. Well, if I don't talk to you guys in the next 2 games, you guys have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving
Yeah.
to you also. And I'll tell you, I've been saying this, but you better pray that De'Aaron Fox doesn't take a bad step or isn't out of action for any period of time, because this team will be lucky to score 90 points.
This is the all NBA Fox. He is the bright spot in this problem. You can work around him. You can find him his spaces. And
Yeah.
speaking of spaces, Grant, the spacing. Holy crap. It is bad. And here, go ahead.
I'd just like to get some messages. Katie said she wasn't worried about Keegan shooting. He was 1 of 5 from deep. Wasn't Keegan supposed to be a 3-point shooter? Well, she may be the only one in the world not worried about his shooting, because I think everyone that's watched the Kings is worried about his shooting. House of Intent last season, I thought they didn't have the killer instinct. This year, they look like they don't even have the enthusiasm. I don't see that. I don't see that. Should we discuss now what the next move should be? What trades and upgrades need to happen? You're getting pretty close to it.
Yeah.
You're getting pretty close to it. That's for sure.
And I don't think we're getting close. And Grant, I'll kick this to you, to peripheral moves. I think we're getting close to a major piece move. You're looking at shaking the core of this team.
I'm telling you right now, because I know, because I lived it, you have a very temperamental owner who thinks he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't. And that is a real problem. Excuse me, let me back that up. That can be a real problem. So I know this franchise well enough to know that panic is setting in. Okay, I understand how it works. I've been there. Panic is very close to setting in right now.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, Ryan just talked about the upcoming schedule with a person on the call. This team is very close. They're not there yet. They're very close to being in a hole that you're going to be trying to climb out of just to make a play-in tournament, not the top 6. And that is not successful in the eyes of Vivek Ranadive, the Sacramento owner. It's just not. Okay, it's just not. So it's not time to jump off the bridge and completely throw in the towel and panic yet,
No.
because you've only played 17 games. But here's the problem I'm seeing right now, Ryan. I'm not seeing like good losses. You know what I mean by that? I'm not seeing
Absolutely.
games that where they lose, you walk away going, "Oh, it's okay." You know, I see what I like what I see. I'm not liking anything that I'm really seeing right now, other than number 5.
Yeah, that wasn't true for the first half of the season.
Correct.
A couple of their losses to start the season, I'm thinking, all right, you guys played more good quarters than bad quarters, and now we're seeing the opposite of that. And you've got 5, as you said, keeping you in the game. It's really you know, I think for me, Grant, this whole notion, and this is something you have been screaming from the rooftops: let it fly, spray the ball. Something has to change with this mindset because you don't have the players anymore. We have
Nope.
enough of a sample size
Nope.
to tell you that you're not going to play at the pace to make up for quote unquote letting it fly. You're not going to get the extra shots, Grant.
I don't like it. I've told you that the other day, and you were jumping on with me when I was doing my open forum show. I don't like the mantra "let it fly." Not with this team, not with this roster. And I look at the big picture. The big picture is, I said I need about 20 games to fully analyze this team. We're really close to 20 games, and right now I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm just not.
The team, when this team's played well, it's been closer to the version of the team that we saw after the All-Star break than it
Yes.
has been to 22-23 or the first half of last season.
Yeah. And again, I keep saying this. You haven't played any of the top teams in the NBA yet. You haven't played the top 3 teams in the East, and you haven't played the top 3 teams in the West yet. Now, you will tomorrow, but you haven't played the other top 2 teams, being Golden State and Houston. So, you talk about being under 500, and your toughest games, without being able to forecast injuries, are still in front of you.
Yeah. Sabonis, 3.6 turnovers per game this season. Fox right there with him, 3.6. But
And how great was the game plan by Jordi Fernandez tonight? We talked about this at halftime as it related to Sabonis.
Oh, he knew that Sabonis was going to take 2-3 dribbles, and he sent somebody. They were right there at the perfect time. I'm not going to say similar to what Boston did with Luka in the NBA Finals, but the timing was spot on for Jordy tonight and his team.
Well, their coaching staff gets the check mark tonight. Would you not agree?
100%.
Not even close.
The timeouts too, to break things up. Jordy recognized the possessions that were important. He coached a phenomenal game.
He did. He was tremendous. And again, we're not talking about a good Nets team. They were 6-10, and they were only 2-7 on the road before the game. And they did a masterful job in coaching. Masterful.
Yep. Good job by them. Let's go back to the phones. Jay, welcome in tonight.
Sorry, it's dark. I'm joining.
It's okay, buddy. Hi, Jay.
What's going on?
What's up, dude?
Well, I feel, let's say we won the game tonight. I wouldn't be happy because on paper and the talent that this team has, where we have better players. Now, having the better players doesn't mean you have the better team all the time, clearly. But like you said, Ryno, the beginning of the season, it looked like we played better quarters than we did bad quarters. But I also think that not only necessarily is the Kings kind of, I don't want to say getting figured out because it's early in the season, but other teams are figuring themselves out with all the offseason moves too, and they're kind of getting back into their rhythm after an offseason. So you could kind of get away with having better players early on, right? Mm-hmm. But when teams start to figure out to play with their own teammates, like tonight, the Brooklyn Nets looked great. I don't know, but this is going to happen.
And tough to win in the NBA, scoring only 103 points, and then the other night they had 88. Very terrible. Very difficult to win in the NBA if you're scoring in the below 100 and just slightly over 100. You're not going to win many games.
Exactly, and I was looking at the stats tonight, looking at Keegan and Kevin's. Those were the ones that really mattered the most to me because those are our starters. But then, as you brought up, Grant, the bench.
Terrible.
Big fat zeros all the way down besides Keon, which was
And he didn't score in the second half.
right. And so then that you look at, okay, well, Monk, we don't have Monk, but it almost pains me to say, like, we can't just put it all on one guy off the bench. You know what I mean? You can't just say, oh, we lost because of Monk or this, that, and the third, you know, because we've won without Monk before. So, and who's to say Monk has an off night? You can't just put the bench scoring all on one person.
There are only two teams in the Western Conference that have a worse record than you right now.
And
Portland and Utah.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I don't know if the Kings are going to beat Portland coming up the way they're playing.
Yeah, Portland is doing
Portland's
good.
playing well.
Go ahead, Ryno.
Yeah, here's the bottom line is, like, we're talking through this with DeMar, the way this offense is set up, it's reads, it's cuts, it's constant movement. You have two guys in the starting lineup that are not constant movement guys in Domas and DeMar DeRozan for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan, you could argue if that's really his strong suit. Not really. Kevin Huerter can do it to a degree. Fox can do everything. Now you turn to the bench unit. Trey Lyles, not a constant movement guy. He's a guy that's going to be spotting up in corners. Alex Len, when he gets minutes, same thing. So you're asking square pegs to fit into round holes around the concepts of this offense. And when you can't get to places, or you do, how many times, Grant, how many times, Jay, tonight did we see guys get past their defender and then try to make an extra pass, but the spacing's so bad that the other defender just puts his arm out and tips the ball because they're so close to each other?
Specifically with Keon, I've noticed that he'll have space to shoot the ball. And Mike Brown has said sometimes it's better to shoot it than to make the next extra pass. And I think it's because a mentality of him getting pulled out of the game. I think a lot of players that are coming off the bench are afraid to make mistakes on the floor.
Yeah, and here's the problem, and you're right, Jay. The problem is these shots that Mike Brown's telling them to shoot, let it fly, which Grant's disagreed with, and I have as well. They're not necessarily good shots. You're just anticipating that it's a better shot than what you're going to get if you put the ball on the floor.
I mean, it's the whole situation is tough. And to your guys' point, I was almost, I don't want to say disappointed, but I was kind of let down to see Kevin Huerter in the starting lineup. I wanted to see Keon get out there and give him an opportunity to gain some momentum and build more confidence in his game, coming off of one of the best games he's had in his career. But as you brought up Trey, because Grant's brought up Trey, and he asked me how I felt about Trey, and tonight Trey, as you can see, I told you before, Grant, he was pissing me off those first 6-7 games, and tonight I look at his minutes played, and I think it was around 30 minutes. And
he didn't do anything tonight. And I got to tell you right now,
18. Yeah.
And
18.
We're coming up to the quarter turn of the schedule. We're not quite there yet, but next week we'll be at the quarter turn. Monty McNair right now has got to take some blame for this roster because he left Mike Brown with one of the worst benches in the league. And it's his job to get the players and construct this team. And quite frankly, the draft pick of Devin Carter may end up being very good, but he's not able to help the team. You lost a valuable bench player in Mitchell. You let a player that you could have easily used and needed in Dalton connect. Dalton is playing very well for the Lakers. But you left Mike Brown with a very weak bench. Now, I'm mindful of the fact that Monk's been out for 2+ weeks. I'm mindful of that. But I'm also mindful that almost every team in the NBA has a roster without a key player right now. And those teams seem to be doing just fine. So I can't just use that as an excuse. But right now, Monty McNair has left this Kings team understaffed on the bench, if I can use that term, undermanned on the bench. This bench is terrible. It's awful.
Okay, so
go ahead, Ryno.
No, I was going to say, is another part of that maybe putting too much stock into Keon Ellis based off of the half season run we had with him last year?
Probably.
Yeah, you probably.
Probably.
But I like Keon. I think we all do.
I do, yeah.
I like Keon.
Yeah.
But he's a role player. He's not a starter. He's a role player. And yet all of us are talking about they need to put him in the starting lineup. Why? Because I think he's a better piece to the puzzle. That's why.
You know what, Grant? You nailed it on the head. I was talking to my friend after the terrible loss to LA Clippers.
Yeah.
And I said, I promise you right now, mark my words, Devin Carter better be out of the gate better than Keon Ellis, because that's a first-round pick, so there's a higher expectation of what he can do. We know he is probably the best defender in college basketball from a point guard position. He needs to be better, at least at Keon's level right now, starting to make an impact on this team.
See, I
But also,
disagree with you. I think he needs to be better than Davion Mitchell.
okay, okay, fair enough, right? But we understand this can't be. You can't miss on this pick. Not only that, but it's like my friend also said, let's put Keon into the starting lineup, and then I said that can work temporarily, but to Ryno's point earlier in the show, you're going to have to make some changes to the starting lineup, or somebody's going to have to get shaken up off the
I
team.
think they
more
already
likely
missed
than
on
not.
the pick without even knowing how Carter's going to be. And again, I respect Jerry Reynolds as much as any basketball person I've ever dealt with, and he said he hears nothing but good things from people that he trusts around the league about Carter. But in my opinion, they already missed on the pick.
Yeah, I mean, you've
Dalton
got, like you
Connect would have
said,
been better for this team. There's no
Connect,
doubt in
yes.
my mind.
And you had Jared McCain as well, who's, I think he had like a 35-point game, and he's been scoring the ball very well and shooting the ball.
Getting to the free throw line too.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't want to throw Carter under the bus because that's not what I'm trying to do. He may be a very good player. Okay, he may be a very good player, but the issue that we talk about,
he
guys,
better be a good player.
yeah, he needs to be. But DeMar DeRozan is not a spring chicken. This window of opportunity is now for this team.
Yes,
Not 2 years from now. It's not. And Dalton Connect is a guy that's helping the Lakers right now become a good team. The Kings don't have a rookie helping them do anything because he's hurt.
Yes, you nailed everything on the head. Literally, my point exactly.
Guys, I get that the Kings don't do wholesale substitutions, but you both know I cover Stockton really closely. I look at G League rosters.
Yes.
Looking at the ages of the guys that are on the Kings bench right now, Colby, Keon, Trey, Doug, Alex Len, Jordan McLaughlin, and Orlando Robinson, this is closer to a G League bench than it is an NBA bench, in my opinion.
Great point.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would say Doug McDermott is an upgrade over Jalen McDaniels or Jaden, whichever one it was. Definitely, because
Doug McDermott can't play.
He can't guard.
Yeah.
When I say that, you've got Scal down in the G League right now. Not saying he can help this team, but that's the same. Well, I'm saying the composition of the bench is very similar to that of what you have in a lot of G League teams. And that's Grant, that goes to your point even more. And Jay, you talking about Keon going in the starting lineup. You've got to mix some of these younger guys in with some of these older guys, because these older ones aren't going to play a lot of minutes. Doug, Alex Len, etc. You got too much. You're top heavy with the starters, and the bottom falls out.
Hey, Jay, we're going to roll. Thank you very much for your contribution. Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. And before we move on, I want to talk to you about Bennett's. And do you have your Thanksgiving plans yet? Well, how about Bennett'sRestaurants.com? Check out their reservation availability, 11 in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening on Thursday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving at their location in Sacramento, Roseville, or the West Side Grill in Rockland. You can also get your Thanksgiving dinner to be picked up at Bennett's, so you can enjoy it at home. The choice is yours. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Hey, Sunrise Landing in Colusa, the newest residential community in Colusa. Just go to ColusaSunrise.com. This is from Blazona Development, and you can check out their various models. No Mellorews, no homeowners. Good location with the access to the major arteries adjacent to the Colusa Golf and Country Club. Once again, that's Sunrise Landing. Go to ColusaSunrise.com. You'll get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing. Well, again, the final, if you're joining us a little bit late, you didn't even stick around for the end of the game, 108-103, Brooklyn. The Kings are now a game under 500 with Oklahoma City, the opponent tomorrow.
Got to have a big bounce back. All right. So, Zach, I'm getting ready to come to you. What I need you to do is take a deep breath, drop the rant and the yelling that you're planning right now. Let's have a logical and good conversation. Here we go, Zach. You are on the air.
Oh, man. I don't know what's with this team. I really don't know. I think when they go home at night, they go shit the bed, and then they wake up not feeling very good. I think the Kings should trade for Bronny James, Dylan Brooks, And then
Zach,
Mike Brown
Zach,
should go get a
Zach,
degree in
Zach,
walking
do me a
fish
favor. Zach, do me a
before
favor.
anything
Zach,
bad happens.
Zach, do me a
He
favor.
should
Don't
teach
ever
them how
call
to
the show again
get their.
because you're a moron. You're an idiot. Don't even bother calling the show anymore. I don't want you on. Okay,
Damn, Zach.
Zach, I don't want you on. You're not on anymore. So the first time I hear your voice on a call again, I'm sending you off. I don't want you on. Don't participate in the show anymore. Bye-bye. That's it. That's your last call. You'll never be on this show again, other than maybe a phony name. And once I hear your voice for one word, I'm getting you off. You're done. You're done. Don't call the show anymore.
You
All
know,
right,
Grant,
108, huh?
he tried to keep it together.
He
He just
can't. He's
couldn't
not
stop.
capable of it.
He couldn't stop himself. Oh man. Let's bring in our guy Gammon. What's up, Gammon?
Gammon,
How's it going, fellas?
what's up, buddy?
What's up, dude?
Not too much. So I want to pose this to you guys. And how many games into the season are we by your guys' calculations?
How many
7.
games are we into the season?
Yes, sir.
You know the Kings record is 8-9, right?
Yeah, 17.
All right, that would be 17.
Okay, so, and I'm just going off of your guys' math because, again, I did a lot of calling out before the season even started. And then we're 17 games in, and I've already had to issue an apology to Kevin Herter, someone who I called out on this show, right? So we're not at 20 games, which is what you guys said was kind of the litmus
Yep, for
before
me
you
it
guys
was.
start. Right. So we still got 3 games going into that. So again, we don't need to jump to conclusions or anything of that sort. But me being a fan, I'm allowed that privilege to just be in shock and awe of whether last game was a win or last game was a loss. I get to say we need to just throw away the season, look for the best draft pick, or hey, we're the next Golden State Warriors and we're going to win a couple championships, right? I am going to kind of come back and say this in regards to our bench. I asked this question, and again, we're 3 games away from where I'm expecting you gentlemen to start definitively saying this is who we are and this is where we're at. But I said this in the one of my early monologues before the season was saying, hey, should we be looking to upgrade our bench with G League players? And
No.
we're kind of
No, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. And by the way, me watching the Kings play the next 3 games is not going to really change my opinion on what I'm seeing with this team right now. I still think this team is a top 8 team in the West. Right now, they're 12th. I don't know if they're a top 6 team, but I do think they're a top 8 team. But they're clearly not playing anything like that right now. But I think they do have a top 8 talent in the West. The problem is I'm looking at what San Antonio's doing. Okay. They just beat the Warriors. I'm looking at what the Rockets are doing. Those are 2 teams that were not in the playoffs last year. I'm looking at what Memphis is doing without Ja Morant. They weren't in the playoffs last year. I think all 3 of those teams are going to be in the knocking on the door. And the Kings, maybe New Orleans you take out of that list from last year. Who else are you taking off that list from last year that were in the playoffs? Lakers are better. Clippers are playing very well without Kawhi Leonard, without Norman Powell.
Yeah.
Minnesota's struggling. Maybe Minnesota falls off. But, I mean, the Kings are going to have a real difficult time being a top 6 team. Very difficult. And it's going to be very challenging just to be a play-in team.
Ryan, I want to ask you this question because I think you and I are of similar age, and Grant, jump in whenever I'm saying something stupid or crazy. But
No problem. What's your question?
it seems like the game has changed dramatically from when I remember that I was playing in my early
Of course it
teens
has. It's a
and
3-point shooting league now, and everyone knows that. You're absolutely right. It has changed dramatically.
And I'm seeing that we cannot defend the 3 and we cannot shoot the 3. Again, small sample size over 17 games, but it's highly disturbing that teams are willing to jack up a terrible 3-point shot versus trying to get to the free throw line.
All right, Ryan,
And-
go ahead. You tackle this one, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the NBA now, Gammon. Especially when you're on the road. Team like Brooklyn, what do you have to lose? You had somebody that shot 9 for 13 the game before this. I think you look at the Kings defensively overall, they're middle of the pack defensively. What's bringing them to middle of the pack is what you said, how poor the 3-point defense is. I think it's a scheme thing. I don't think it's a player thing. I think it is tweaking a principle here and there. The Kings are shading off a little bit too much. They are doubling too much with post players. Brooklyn, to give you an idea, their post players, they're 30th in the league in blocks. They're not big. They're not athletic, but you're doubling when the ball gets down there, which is leaving somebody wide open. Who came off the bench, Grant, tonight that hit, I think, like 5 or 6 threes?
It was Clowney. And here's the deal. Their bench outscored the Kings bench tonight 44-9. Now think about that for a minute. 44-9. Noah Clowney. I got to be honest with you. I'd never heard of Noah Clowney before. Okay. Noah Clowney tonight had 18 points and made 5 of 8 from 3.
Yep. There you go.
So, Grant, I want to ask you this question because I sent in a super chat a couple days ago, maybe last week, I'm not sure, but it was asking, who would you, in order to bolster this bench? Nobody really has a problem with the starting 5. I think that's why you project us to be a top 8 team. Even though
I have
a
problem with the starting 5 personally. I do, but go ahead.
I would love to hear that.
I don't think Kevin Huerter should be starting. I think he's having too many awful nights, and I think that your 2-guard cannot have so many subpar nights. And I've already seen Keon Ellis and De'Aaron Fox play together. And even though I acknowledge and admit that Keon's not your typical starting 2-guard in the league, he's a bench player, he's a role player. I think he would be better starting than Kevin Huerter, and I would like to see Huerter come off the bench. But go ahead, finish your question. I'm sorry.
Gosh, now you just added another question about what do you think would have happened if our first round pick was actually healthy and ready to go?
I don't deal with hypotheticals.
I understand. So that's why I didn't want to go there. But that's immediately, as soon as you started talking, where my mind went, because I think that our first round pick is hypothetically an upgrade over Keon Ellis. I digress. So let's get back to what we see and what we know. I asked you a question probably about 6-7 days ago. It was through a super chat, and I said, hey, if you could take a player from the bench to bolster our bench from the 2001-2002 team, right? And I felt like you gave a straight up answer like you always do, but there was a bit of conflict between Bobby Jackson, a point guard, and then Scott Pollard.
There was no conflict. It was just, those are the 2 guys out of the whole bench that I would choose from. And personally, I would take Scott Pollard because I think he's exactly what this team needs. But there was no conflict.
Do you looking at a game like tonight, do you feel Scott Pollard in his prime?
Scott right now, the game is so different than when Scott played. But let's not go back 20 years ago. All right. Let's stop dealing with
it's so hard. It's so hard for me.
Let's stop dealing with make-believe stuff. Let's deal with what we have right now. We have a team that we root for and follow that has one of the worst, if not the worst, benches in the league that will be better when Malik comes back, whether that's tomorrow or whether it's at Minnesota. But it won't be substantially better because even when Malik was playing, the bench was still subpar. So how do you get better on the bench? Well, there's really only 3 ways. Number 1 is to make a trade. Number 2 is to pray and hope that when Devin Carter comes back, he's really good. And number 3, have a player in the G League like Keon Ellis who's ready to make that next jump, which right now I don't really see. So those are your only 3 ways in the middle of a season to get your bench better. There's, to me, no other way. I'll add a 4th. See if Kevin Huerter coming off the bench would provide you a spark with Keon Ellis also fitting in better with the other starters than Kevin. And so there would be 4 ways to do it. And you better start trying something now because right now it's not working.
I just want to offer up my half cent because I really can't give 2 cents from where I'm at. But shake the dice, roll it. Your best deals are really going to be going through the G League. if
No,
our
you're wrong. They're not. Stop it. Stop it with this G League stuff. You're wrong. Your best deals are not going through the G League. The G League is AAA. Okay, it's stop it with the G League talk. Are there some good stories? Yes, Keon Ellis is a great story. Are there some other players in the NBA that have stepped up from the G League and played well? Yes, there's nobody on the Stockton Kings right now that is going to come up to Sacramento and make this team better. So stop it.
what about from other teams? And I say this, Grant.
The other teams are you. Gammon, you're
I'm
barking
so
up.
sorry.
You're
I'm
barking
so
up the
sorry.
wrong
I
tree.
know.
You got to stop it, Gammon. You
Yes,
got to
sir.
stop it. Okay?
Gammon, anybody worth coming up is already a two-way player, which means
Thank
they
you.
are under contract with a
Correct.
team. So the Keon Ellis, the Kings have done, you know why Keon was so successful? Because not only did they identify him, remember, he was undrafted, they developed him. Gabriel Harris, the team out there in Stockton, along
They
with
did a
the
great
Sacramento
job.
front office, did a great job. That doesn't happen overnight. For instance, Gammon, Colby Jones, second-round pick, got some run tonight. He's playing well right now in Stockton. He's still assigned down there.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near ready to play the minutes he played tonight in Sacramento,
No.
yet he had good moments. And that's what it is in the G League. You see these flashes of brilliance, but then you see what happens when Colby Jones tried to bring the ball up tonight. He can't do it. So
The difference between the G League and the NBA, Gammon, is the difference between like the sun and Earth. Okay.
I got it. I'm so sorry. And again, this comes from a very frustrated fan, and we finally ended the drought. When you're talking about Gammon, don't go back 20 years. And I was thinking about the last time that the Kings made the playoffs before this last run that they did, where they actually made the playoffs. I wasn't even able to buy alcohol, right? Like that's how young that I was.
It's been a while. But listen, Gammon, I'm going to go. We got to get to other callers. I appreciate you. And if we don't talk to you, have a great Thanksgiving.
Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gammon. Appreciate it. If you want to get in on the program, you got the QR code. We got the link on the chat line. And listen, here's what happens in sports that I have found over the years. When things go bad, and I'm not picking on Gammon, fans think of stupid things, unrealistic things, like, oh, bring a player up from the G League.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, who would you like to have from 25 years ago? It happens. That's what fans do. Instead of dealing with the reality of the situation, and to me, right now, Ryan, what needs to happen first and foremost is Mike Brown needs to shake things up. Okay, it's like a batting order for a major league team that is going through a slump, and you take a hitter at the number 2 position and you move him into the 5 hole or whatever. You try different things. It's time to try different things, in my opinion.
Undoubtedly. 100%. And even Grant, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to have another 12-point first quarter with Keon Ellis in the starting lineup. I can promise you your defense is going to be much better. And you know what? I'm going to add another thing to the list of how you can improve. And I guess it's through a trade. You've been harping on this for 2.5 years now. This team does not have a true point guard.
Nope.
Name another team in the NBA that does not have a true point guard.
Great point. Hey, it's time for a rant with Grant. It is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. You can get all the information by going to edhmotors.com. David and Adam, over 40 years of combined automotive experience, no obligation to any franchise or big corporation, just two people trying to do something different and better. Here's what they will do, all right? They offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments, where they'll sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car, and they will sell pre-owned vehicles. Hey, even your RV or boat. You'll take delivery at their auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. Means you don't have to go to a dealership. You're not dealing with high-pressured salespeople. You're not getting pushed into the F&I office. It's a great concept. It's long overdue. Go to edhmotors.com. That's edhmotors.com. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. Here's what I do know about the Sacramento Kings right now. They keep the standings for a reason, okay? And the standings right now in the Western Conference have the Kings near the very bottom, where with the exception of Portland and Utah, they can see them all. This team's too talented to being able to see them all. They're too talented. Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan. They're too freaking talented to be 8-9. You got Oklahoma City tomorrow, at Minnesota, at Portland. I'm looking at the teams coming up. You better fasten your freaking seatbelts. And I've used 20 as my measuring stick, and we're not quite there yet, but we're pretty damn close. And right now, I got to tell you, Monty McNair has dropped the ball big time on this roster. Their bench is laughable. It's embarrassing. It is handcuffing the head coach of your Sacramento Kings and Mike Brown. Has he been perfect? No, he has not been perfect. He was out-coached tonight. But can you imagine trying to coach an NBA team with no bench? Think about it. No bench. 44-9. The Nets, who were also without some key players tonight. 44-9 was the bench scoring. Think about that for a minute. Mike Brown looks to his left. Well, I can't put you in. I'll try to put you in and hope that maybe you have a good game for the first time in a month. Can't really put you in. No, seriously, what's he supposed to do? It's a bad situation. It's not time to jump off the rooftop yet or the bridge. It's not time to throw the towel in. But this team, as Jerry Reynolds said at halftime, is about 1 week to 2 weeks away of bad basketball from being in a hole that is too deep to come out of. This is a critical stage for the Sacramento Kings with Oklahoma City tomorrow, then on the road to Minnesota and Portland. Then you look at the upcoming schedule. Not looking good right now. And I'm telling you, Monty McNair is going to be the fall guy here. You watch. If this continues, Monty McNair will be the fall guy. They just gave Mike Brown a huge contract, which, by the way, who was in the offseason saying stupid move? That was me. Who was saying no reason to give Mike Brown a new deal? His deal's not up until after next year. Why would you give a coach a new deal based on 2 years of basketball when he just came off a year where his team did not make the playoffs? That's right. They didn't make the playoffs last year. And you're going to give the coach a new deal? Why? Stupidity. Now, first of all, I don't really care about the Kings' money. I don't care how they spend their money. If they want to waste money on stupid contracts, go right ahead. But I'm just telling you right now, as we get ready for Thanksgiving, if this team falters and continues to go south, Monty McNair will be on the unemployment line. He will be on the unemployment line. Not ready to say that yet. I'm not calling for his job yet, but I'm just telling you before it happens, he's the guy that's going to take the blame. Because what's going on right now is bad basketball. It's not okay basketball. It's bad basketball. Bad. Very bad. And that's my rant for tonight.
Grant, the Kings bench has 247 minutes this season. You look at some of the teams towards the top of the NBA, or at least in playoff contention. The Warriors, 374 minutes from their bench. Cleveland, 344. Orlando, 339. That tells you exactly what your rant just said about this bench. It's really, really a tough spot because they are good enough.
It's not the same bench as last year, Andrew. You can start with Davion Mitchell, who's not on the bench.
Yeah, very true. Alex, what's up, man? You're on with Grand Ryno.
Hey, Ryno. Hey, Grant. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for calling. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So, I just kind of want to piggyback off one of the first things Grant said that when this stream started, he talked about how the length and athleticism isn't looking good on this team. And I think a lot of us were talking about that during the offseason when there wasn't a lot to talk about. Like, hey, I'm glad we got DeMar, but we still kind of have the same issues, no length, no athleticism. And now it's kind of being a real issue because we're not at that 20-game mark yet, but we're getting very close, as you guys said. And then Grant also talked about how we're getting close to Vivek probably doing something rash. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but doing something, maybe outlandish. What would that look like to you, like a big trade or a firing, or what is that in your mind?
I don't think they're going to fire anybody right now.
Okay.
I think it's too early to fire anybody. And as far as a big trade, I'm not really sure who's super marketable on the Kings right now, not named De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. I don't even know what you could get for Keegan Murray right now with how poorly he's playing offensively. I thought he was better tonight. You think you can get what?
I think NBA teams that are middle of the pack to contenders are drooling over Keegan Murray.
Then you know what? Another bad week of basketball. I'm ready to roll the dice and make a move.
Drooling. Because to me, they're looking at Keegan. Look at Keegan Murray tonight when he wasn't thinking. When that shot clock was running down and he had to score, pure as hell on a fadeaway jump shot. It's up here and it's scheme wise.
Okay, so put him in there. Who else are you going to put on this roster right now who you would think could be marketable for a trade?
Keegan's about it. I mean, Keegan's the piece. Keegan or De'Aaron Fox. Those are your two pieces.
Yep.
Each of them have a year and a half left on their contracts.
Yep.
Those are the two pieces that you could move.
I also think not nearly as marketable as Murray, that you could trade Kevin Huerter. I think there are teams out there that feel that he would fit in much better with their system that they play.
I agree with you, but I think he would have to be the secondary piece. I
Yes.
don't think you have
Yes.
a team that's going to come in and say,
No.
we want Herter straight up.
Agree.
What about you, Alex? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. Unless they wanted to just go full on crazy mode and try to deal Fox or whatever. But I'm not sure. It looked like even Cam Johnson, who he was rumored during the offseason, and he looked like he'd fit here fantastically because he's tall, he's lengthy, he's athletic, makes some shots. I mean, we're just missing that big time on this squad. So I'm kind of like unsure right now. We're hitting that 20 game mark and we're still looking very similar to last year, you know, so it's kind of disheartening. But you know, it is what it is. The last thing I wanted to ask is, or I guess say, I'm glad you guys are getting really big, but with that comes the trolls coming. How do you guys kind of feel dealing with that lately?
Get rid of them. I'm not worried about them.
Yeah.
Just block them and get rid of them. So don't worry. Alex, have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'm going to say this, and I haven't said it yet, but I'm going to say it now because I've been watching the Spurs play quite a bit. No one ever brings up Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
The Kings miss Harrison Barnes.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. And not that DeMar doesn't make them better. They're just different, I guess, in senses. Harrison's just Mr. Consistent.
And he's Mr. Super professional in the locker room. Everybody loved him. He was super respected. I mean, there's no negatives. And he's playing very well for the Spurs.
Yeah, he is playing really well. It's exactly what they needed. And we keep talking about, I just want to say this and we'll go to Baki. Shooters, like a guy like this could fit in. Who's going to get him the ball? Look at the unassisted baskets this year. They're few and far between with your starters and your bench guys outside of Fox and DeRozan. Ugh. Baki, what is going on tonight all the way from Serbia?
Yeah, all the way. I'm not going to say how are you guys because I know how are you feeling. I'm not going to say good evening because it's not very good. I'm going to say maybe good morning because this is the morning right here. So I was on the edge, whatever to call or to the show or not, because from our side, from one side, you covered pretty much everything. But from other side, there is never enough time to talk about everything, what is good or bad. So let's say like this, the bench is what it is. We can't change it. Or even if we can, it will be only one player here or there. And that's all. But the other thing is worrying me. Remember last open forum we were together, Grant, when I asked you, and I would like Ryno also to tell me the answer of that. If the game is 4-4, let's say if the NBA is 4-4 and Malik is healthy, you don't have a better team. But on paper, it's only on paper. Reality is this: you have 3 starters. And also remember when I say 10 days ago that Fox needs to wake up. Well, Fox woke up, but DeRozan fell asleep, right? Are you agree?
Yeah, he has not played well since coming back from his back in the 2 games.
Yeah, the moment De'Aaron Fox took the game in his hands, DeRozan fell asleep. Maybe if you agree. So
I don't know if I would
I don't say
fall asleep.
I don't say it's have anything one with another, but the fact is that well, if you have only 2 out of 3 starters going every game, you're there. So you can't go with 2 starters cold as stone and only expect for one guy to put 60 and that's it. I mean, funny thing, when Fox put those 60, we lost the game. Remember? So
right.
So you have three starters, which every of one of them is some kind of superstar of the team. So if you have two of them cold as tonight, you cannot expect to win the game. Maybe you're gonna win one or two in the 10 or 15 games, but this is for me unacceptable to have DeRozan playing like this. After first half, you have DeRozan and Sabonis collecting together. How much, right? I don't know, 5, 6 points, 7.
Well, you know, Sabonis was 50% from the floor tonight. He had 18 rebounds, 7 assists. All right, so I wouldn't say he was off.
No. I'm saying only in the first half, Grant.
Yeah, but DeRozan ended up with 18 points, but he took 18 shots. You know, he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists.
DeRozan had 6 in the first half. Sabonis had 2.
Right.
That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. I keep talking about
because
this.
you lost. Sorry, Grant. You lost the game in first half. You didn't lose. This is the game you need to win in the first half.
But you only had 15 points in the fourth quarter, Baki. You only had 15 points in the fourth quarter. And the game was tied. The game was tied after 3. So I think you lost the game in the fourth quarter.
No, I want to say, if you want to win the games like this, after all those losses, you need to win this game in first half to be on a lead by 10, by 12, 13, so you can come up strong in third, so you can rest your starters in fourth. If you're gonna run and trail every game, every single night, you're gonna ruin your plans. You're gonna ruin everything. So absolutely, you can expect injuries. You can expect DeRozan doing like this, and Sabonis as well. All habits.
24 hours from right now, the game against Oklahoma City will be ending.
Yeah, and they're rested.
They're rested, and they're good. They're different without Chet Holmgren.
Right.
But they have a dynamic player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What do we always say about the Kings, or at least we have been saying over the last 2 years? The best teams in the league always seem to bring out the best in them, correct?
Yes,
yeah.
That was my
That's
next
tomorrow
sentence.
night. And this team better figure out a way to pull up their bootstraps and come out and play an A game tomorrow. Because if they don't play an A game, they will lose.
Of course. Then that's why I never. Okay, somebody will say, okay, we're gonna bet against Kings tomorrow after everything we saw, but that's absolutely not true, because you can see quite another team tomorrow playing crazy basketball and winning the game. So this is the NBA, this is the sport, but globally they need to figure it out, and they need to. I don't know. I don't like what I see every game. You see. You're going to win the game if you only, as I already said, if you have 2 starters playing normal game, okay, you have DeRozan, okay, let's say he bring 20. The game is over. If we put only half of those missed free throws, the game will be in the winning margin. So
okay, I mean, yeah,
I mean, my point, the team is very talented and very good on paper, so they only need to figure it out what to do and when, because you can't have a star like DeRozan putting only 2, 3, 4 points in first half. This is unacceptable. Definitely, you're gonna trail the game. You're gonna woke up in second half, but that is not the guarantee you're gonna win the game.
So appreciate it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Appreciate
Ryno.
you too.
Yeah, thanks, Bucky. I do agree with what he's saying. In theory, you got to come off. But when you talk about if you made a couple more free throws, if you pushed a couple more people off the 3-point line for Brooklyn, then that changes the skew. I guess if the offense is not clicking, what do you turn to? You turn to the defense, and you let that turn offense into you. And that's why tomorrow night with SGA, Grant, it is such a better matchup for the Kings to have Keon and De'Aaron starting that game off on the perimeter.
I agree.
If you asked Mike Brown for his reasoning, there's no way Mike Brown could say that is not the better matchup for the Kings. It would be, well, you know, we need Herter for this reason and that. Period. End of story. You got to start there.
I want to tell you about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. That's sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they will be there for you. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. sackserviceplumbing.com. Tomorrow, You got your King's Court show?
Oh yeah, we will be here live at 2:00 for everybody.
I will be here at 4:00 talking about tonight's game and the NFL. Get you ready for Monday Night Football and get you ready for the Kings in Oklahoma City. So a very busy day tomorrow. 2:00, the King's Court with Ryno. 4:00 with yours truly. Then the pregame, halftime, postgame show with the Kings and the Thunder.
We love back-to-backs. 5 shows.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yes. Please subscribe if you have not already done so. And take a second, would you please? Take a second and hit the thumbs up. It's very easy to do. We greatly appreciate that. Ryno, busy day tomorrow. We'll look forward to it beginning at 2:00.
Looking forward to it. Better days tomorrow, Kings fans. They bounce back.
Yep. Kings lose tonight. They are under 500, 8-9, and 4-5 at home. Not good. We'll see if they can bounce back tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Bye-bye now.